From the library of the New York Stock Exchange, at the corner of Wall and Broad Streets in New York City, you're inside the Ice House, our podcast from Intercontinental Exchange on markets, leadership, and vision in global business. The dream drivers that have made the NYSE an indispensable institution for global growth for more than 225 years. Each week, we feature stories of those who hatch plans, create jobs, and harness the engine of capitalism. Right here, right now, at the NYSE and at ICE's 12 exchanges and 7 clearinghouses around the world. Now here's your host, Josh King, Head of Communications at Intercontinental Exchange.
Let me take you back to March 28, 1985. President Ronald Reagan, standing on the bell podium of the New York Stock Exchange, looked across the trading floor and remarked to the crowd of traders,
"This is a great view from up here. It's kind of like being at a Saturday night tag team wrestling match at the Garden."
3 days later, at that other iconic New York arena, which trades as NYSE-listed MSG, a Ronald Reagan with a horseshoe mustache and 24-inch biceps, as the New York Times would describe Hulk Hogan later on, and his tag team partner, Mr. T, stepped into the ring to face off against Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff. The match, which saw Hogan and Mr. T come out on top, was a keystone of WrestleMania 1. It cemented World Wrestling Entertainment, better known as WWE, which is also the company's NYSE ticker symbol, as the top wrestling organization following Vince McMahon's aggressive expansion and marketing since taking the reins of the business from his father just 2 years earlier. McMahon's WWE, then known as the WWF, completed a successful IPO in 1999 and a year later brought the ring to Wall Street, where a live event broadcast from a setup right in front of the facade announced the beginning of trading here for their shares under the ticker symbol WWE. Throughout the company's growth and changes, WrestleMania continues to be the annual highlight of the wrestling schedule, known as the Super Bowl of wrestling, not just for the importance it plays in the sport, but its economic impact. In just the past 11 years, the event has brought over $1 billion to the local economies of its host cities, and tomorrow night, down in New Orleans, it will be the 34th occurrence of the event. Today's guest, Big Show, visited earlier this week to ring the opening bell and give us a sneak peek of what to expect at WrestleMania 34 and his future wrestling plans.
Inside the Ice House was brought to you this week by Norwegian Cruise Line, NYSE-listed NCLH. Norwegian Cruise Line's 16th ship, Norwegian Bliss, will begin cruising Alaska and the Caribbean seasonally in June 2018. For more information, visit www.ncl.com.
Our guest today, Big Show, made his WWE debut coming to the defense of Vince McMahon in a match against The Rock just a few months before the company filed for its IPO. Big Show became the WWE champion a month after the company went public. He's one of a few select wrestlers in history to complete a Grand Slam by holding all of the major championships at some point during his time with the WWE. Big Show's coming off of hip surgery, and over the last few months has been rehabbing hard to get back in time for this weekend's WrestleMania. He just rang the opening bell and now joins us inside the Ice House. Welcome, Show, to the program.
Hey, thank you guys very, very much. Yeah, an exciting day, definitely. A lot of busy times going on.
What was it like up on the podium? Not your first rodeo up there.
No, it's the first time I ever rang the bell. Last time I was here, Kane rang it, and this time I did. It's funny, my thumb's so big it almost didn't fit in the hole to ring the bell. But Tom's a great host, told me where to stand, what to do, when to do it, and luckily I'm smart enough to take directions. So it was a fantastic experience, and mainly it's just overwhelming with all the history.
And, whether it's the opening day of trading or the first round of wrestling match, that bell is going to ring whether you like it or not. You got to be ready.
You can't avoid it. You know what I mean? That's the thing, in those situations, if you put yourself in that situation, you just better be ready to rock and roll. So ringing the bell was cool. Ringing the bell up here was cool. So for me, like I said, I got a little bit more of a history. I know they revamped some of the rooms, and I got to see the Fabergé statue. I got the history behind that. That's one of the great things about coming up here. Everybody here has always been so kind and so nice to us. And, and throughout the country, sometimes you don't get the respect. And I go back a long time where, wrestling and this, that, and the other. And now that we're publicly traded, we're sports entertainment, people understand that have such a global impact. We're not the ugly stepchild anymore. We're actually the person you want to talk to if you want to get something done.
Talking about getting ready show, I was watching your tweets over the weekend. I know you're getting ready for WrestleMania. I want to play a little video clip of you doing some road work, not basically your feet on the ground, but on two wheels, and the harm you were doing to that bicycle as you were going over the countryside.
All right, big show here, little update. Good strong leg workout this morning, great hip therapy. Finishing off the day with bike ride, put a couple miles in. I know you can't hear it right now, but my bicycle is screaming for its life. If there was such a thing as bicycle torture, I'm committing it right now. I'm slamming about 390 pounds down this bike, and it's going to be a crumpled pile of metal and rubber when I'm done with it.
Show, what happened to the bike, man?
Well, we stopped riding the bike a little bit, and I started doing more indoor cardio because apparently on my route I started drawing too much of attention, and people were damn near running over me to stop me to get an autograph or have some interaction. So rather than potentially causing an accident or scene, I moved my cardio inside for a while until I find another route. So that happens every now and then.
Marvin Hagler used to go out to Provincetown in the dead of winter to train. No one out there on the far reaches of Cape Cod. How do you get away and get some places where people aren't watching you rehab your hip?
It's very difficult. I mean, like a lot of my bike rides that I'll have to move to, I'll end up doing in Miami. We have some places where I can run the power line access roads on Turkey Creek, and it's back road, dirt road, 33 miles, I think, is what it does. You drive one way and get picked up at the other end, but it's gravel and a little hilly. The only thing is there's crocodiles, not alligators, crocodiles, because it's brackish water, and there's 16, 17 feet laying on the bank. There's horse flies as big as my thumbnail, and there's a few Florida panthers back there. So when you ride that ride, you don't want to stop. You just want to keep pedaling. It's a great motivation to keep moving. You're kind of a buffet on wheels back there in that part of the country, so you want to keep moving. I mean,
fans aside, is biking something you like to do?
I like it for the exercise because before it was less impact on my knees. But as the weights come off, my legs have gotten stronger, hips gotten better. I'm able to do other forms of cardio now. So we're changing it up as best we can. Sometimes if you do too much of the same kind of cardio, your body adapts so fast that you're not getting the same impact you are if you change it up every now and then. So especially with me lately, I've been changing it up from climbing stairs to different types of air striders and whatnot.
Your fans following you on social media have tracked every step of both the injury and the rehab.
Gracious, yes,
but for folks who don't know, what happened with the hip, and what are you trying to do now at age 46, coming back for WrestleMania?
Well, I'm good to go now. I mean, I went through a lot. For the past few years, I worked in a lot of pain, and slowly over time, I had some arthritic degeneration in the hip. I actually had holes in my femur ball joint that goes into the hip. I just wore holes in it like a bowling ball. I wore it out, wore the cartilage out, wore the bone down. I was in a lot of pain, and I had bone growing over it too, so I lost a lot of range of motion. My steps were shorter. Got some atrophy in my quad, my hamstring from not having no range of motion. That leg, I couldn't use that leg as much as I wanted to. And I powered through it, and then it just came to enough was enough. I didn't want to do a full hip replacement because that's metal on plastic, and to me, with my size and weight, that just seems like a no-win situation. I ran into Dr. Sue here at HSS in New York, who is one of the top hip specialists in the world, and we did a resurfacing, which you keep 98% of your bone. It's basically a titanium cap over the ball joint with a titanium receptacle in the hip that's press fitted in and bonded. It doesn't come out. And it's also a bigger joint. There's more range of motion. So for me, I went from being in pain basically 24/7 to no pain at all. 3 weeks after the surgery, I walked 1.5 miles, which was fantastic. And then I started having little complications. And then what I found out is that all our bodies have staph and stuff like that. And sometimes your body reacts to foreign devices. So I built up a surgery infection, which is pretty serious because it can get into bone and it can cause a lot of problems. So they had to go in, open me back up, flush, clean everything, and then I was on a PICC line for 7 weeks over Christmas, which is basically an IV drip 3 times a day of vancomycin and cefepime to combat the infection and to corral it, because if it really got on the device, they would have to put a spacer in for 3 months, pull the spacer out, then remove the joint, and then do a full hip replacement. Because once, if the infection gets on the joint, because the metal, no matter how smooth or how polished, the microbes are so small, it never goes away. So we were lucky to get ahead of it and to beat it. And I just got cleared 2 weeks ago and for back in-ring competition, and I'm waiting to see what's going on. I have a good idea of what I'm doing at WrestleMania. I'm not going to say because it'll be a surprise, but I'm very excited about what's coming up.
What WrestleMania is this for you?
For me, oh God, dude, I don't know. I started in '99.
Yeah.
I think I've missed 2. I missed one in Detroit, and I missed one in Toronto. Detroit was 2007. I took that year off, and the Toronto one, I was at our restaurant here in New York. I never keep track of all that stuff. Like some guys, like Edge was always the best. Edge could tell you what match it was, who his opponent was, what the date was, what the weather. I mean, he was one of those guys that was so smart. He was annoying. I can't remember what I did 3 weeks ago.
December 8th, 2014. It's a match between you and John Cena in Raw. And hear a little bit of the how that match ended up.
The pendant. You can't see me. Uh-oh. Big Show saw him. Big Show says, I read your book, Cena. Up you go. Whoa, another counter. Cena from behind. Big Show on his shoulders. God, 450 pounds. That is superhuman strength. And he got it. He got it. Big Show. Here's the cover. And he ain't a Big Show. Shoulders are down. Seth Rollins. And J&J Security.
Now, this is radio show, so people can't appreciate the fact that Cena is picking you up above his head and flipping you over and a 3 count. But Cena actually, outside of the ring, had an important conversation with you that was documented pretty well in an ESPN article, Big Show, the Giant with the Six-Pack. Gave you some thoughts about how to look at a different stage of your career?
It's different. John and I have been good friends for a long time and great competitors, and John is a very intelligent individual. I know it's not very hard to. You've heard John talk before. Obviously, he's very smart, but John also is a smart ass. And John and I are good friends. He's a terrible card player. I have beaten his ass so many times playing gin. I have $100 in quarters in a jar that he signed because I made him pay me in quarters. So anyway, for the record, I'm the better gin player. But that being said, John and I was talking about weight training and stuff like that, and I always had a self-deprecating sense of humor. And I would pick on myself, oh, I'll die young, I'm fat, blah, 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 blah. You know, and then I made the comment to John. I was like, yeah, a giant with abs, who the hell would want to see that? And John got real serious with this no expression on his face. And he's like, yeah, a giant with abs, who'd want to see that? And he walked off. But I think the way he did it, it just was such a motivator because it was a challenge. It was almost a plea from one friend to the other, like, please start taking care of yourself. You know what I mean? And at the same time, like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do it. You know what I mean? And there were so many emotions that went into that. It pissed me off. Like, I remember him walking away, and I wanted to punch him in the back of the head. I really did. I mean, I would never hit somebody from behind in real life, but, you know, it flashed through my mind. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to show him. And then I started slowly eliminating things here and there out of my diet, finding the right meal plan that worked for me, finding the right training, and it was an experience. And rather than going and asking, because people will ask you for diet advice all the time. You know, oh, hey, what do I do? What did you do? What did you do? And I used to do that too. I would ask Triple H, I would ask all these guys what they did, you know, and in one hand, when you do it yourself and you earn it, you appreciate it more. When you do the research, just asking somebody, you're not that serious about it. The first 3 letters in the word diet is die. That's why they fail. It's a lifestyle change. You have to change who you are. If you're an emotional eater, you have to learn not to be an emotional eater. Certain foods that you crave are not good for you. You don't react well to them. We all have different body chemistry and makeups, and you have to learn who you are and what works the best for you. And you have to pay attention to it. And then you have to believe in yourself that it's one day at a time. The main thing is finding what works for you and being, you know, having a little bit of discipline. And discipline was the whole thing that I think I lacked my entire career with a lot of things. I wasn't very disciplined with it because I was such a good athlete, because I was bigger than everybody. I didn't have to really apply myself like a lot of other people did. So later in life, wow, gee, I wish I'd applied myself like this a long time ago. Things happen for a reason. I'm applying myself now. I'm happier for it. I'm wiser for it, and I feel better.
The results of that regimen, I think the announcer at that Raw match had you somewhere over 400 pounds. You're where now?
Oh, God, yeah. But I wrestled John then. I was probably 470, 480. I could have been 490 and lying about it. Right now, I think I weighed 389, so before I left home. So in this week, we're really concise on what we're eating this week and our training and our cardio and whatnot. So I'm looking to probably be in the low 380s by Sunday.
The role of the big man in wrestling, I think I read an article with you that had you talking about the number of wrestlers who are above 6'8" is a small amount.
Small percentage, yeah, of those guys that can actually wrestle too.
Yeah, and you're an athlete. You played basketball at Wichita State. What defines success and failure for the big man in wrestling?
A lot of things go into play with it. Being able to be a character, being a big guy is about size and presence, but it's also about what you bring to the table. It's what keeps, I always have a thing called putting asses in seats. What makes you different that you put asses in seats where people want to watch you? How can you build your opponent? I mean, it's easy to go out there and be a star if everybody makes you look good. That's easy. You see that every new guy that comes in, he gets a lot of wins, he hits his finish, he looks so amazing, woohoo. That's all good. Now, how does he survive? And everybody's like so hyped when they're winning all the time. Okay, now your love for this business will be tested when you don't win, as when you make other people look good, as when you make people that are worse than you look better than you on purpose. How you swallow that. That tests your love and commitment for the business. That's your job security. That's how guys like Kane, myself, Mark Henry, we've always been able to make other guys look good because you know what? Sometimes being a big guy doesn't mean you're the leading man. You're not a John Cena. You're not a Mark Wahlberg. You're not a Dwayne Johnson. You're the guy that they have to topple to get to the next challenge. You might be the partner that they run with to overcome another challenge. You might be the wrecking force that needs to be slain, just like the dragon. So that's your role. It's not like, oh, you should be the champion all the time. If I was a champion all the time, it'd be boring and it'd suck. That's not the role. The role is you want someone that people can root for, that they can get behind. Human history throughout evolution, if you look at psychology, we've always overcome fire, famine, disease, war, so many things that as human beings to exist in this world, we've had to overcome for centuries to exist today in the world we're in. So that David versus Goliath syndrome is packed in our psyche. It's the same thing with wrestling. Yeah, it's okay to root for the big guy. You're going to have fans if the big guy's nice. If the big guy's a bad guy, well, yeah, you might like him, but deep down inside, you still want to see the spectacle of somebody taking that person down. And I think that's the thing that a lot of big guys need to learn, and also need to learn to be safe. Because you can go out there and be a monster and a terror, but if you're hurting guys and you're injuring guys, nobody wants to work with you.
One of the big guys in all of our memories, those who followed professional wrestling from its earlier days, is certainly Andre the Giant.
Of course.
You were telling me that you were in L.A. a couple days ago, watched the new documentary for HBO from Bill Simmons. I want to hear a trailer for that, and then have you reflect on the trajectory of the big guy's role in wrestling from Andre to the show.
Fantastic.
How about your diet? How much food do you eat a day?
You knew that you were seeing something unique in the world.
Andre was an attraction. There was no level of comfort. It had to be an uncomfortable life.
There's only one. They think of him as this legendary drinker. He drank because he was in pain.
People would not leave him alone.
The reality of who he was getting more intense on him. He knew he wasn't going to live long.
Month after month, you can see Andre failing.
Andre commanded great respect.
What parts of Andre's story did you relate to on the screen, and what are of another era?
Well, it's funny. I started in Andre's shadow a couple of years. I never met Andre. I started business a couple of years after he passed away. He passed away at 46? That's how old I am now. that was very a moving documentary for me personally, because when I started, I was brought in as billed as the son of Andre the Giant, and that was a whole angle, and that's pro wrestling back then. But in all sincerity, after watching that HBO special, I learned so much about Andre that was so parallel to my own personal experiences. It was moving. From the athlete that Andre was when he was younger and the things that he could do. And it was different times, but he was an athlete. He could do anything. To the pain and agony of the traveling and being uncomfortable and the people staring, and you walk by sometimes and people do laugh. That was one of the things during the documentary that caught me. You walk through an airport and people do laugh when you go by. It's a natural human reaction. I understand that now. I've had a few psychology classes in college, so I'm a little bit more forgiving, I think. I don't take it personal. I just know that people, when confronted with something that either frightens them or is awkward to them or is new to them, sometimes people laugh. It's the same thing as sometimes people gasp. It's the same thing. It's just a reactionary response. But to see and understand that, Andre went through a lot of pain, just emotional pain too, because he never really fit in anywhere. He was this marvel, he was this freak, he was this man among men, and he ran a locker room and he ran a business and he ran territories by his presence and the way he loved the business. I think a lot of the passion that I discovered that Andre had, I have similar passions about our business and how I want it to do well and how I want it to continue. And just to see how his life, where he was beloved by so many, and at the same time, the heartache that he went through. I think I could have very easily, had I not made a conscious effort with Vince giving me grief and Cena and, friends that are close to me, about, Taker, guys that I know that love me, that wanted me to, I used to smoke 2 packs a day. You know what I mean? I could drink a bottle of Jack Daniels in a setting. You know what I mean? Yeah, I have a liver the size of a Buick. Yeah, I can drink. But to start making that change and getting myself healthier after 2006, I took a year off to really try to make some headway on that, on just getting in better physical health, and I was able to do that. And then, I came back and beat myself up a little bit on the road and tried to attack it from a different angle. And I attacked it this time through nutrition and specific exercise modes to enhance and get serious about it. It prolonged my life. I'm 46 now. I have no fears, no doubts that I'm going to live for a long time because I know how to take care of myself now. But for the longest time, like Andre, when I was in my 30s, I didn't expect to be 50. I used to make jokes about it, like Samoa Joe would slap his forehead and go, "Geez, Joe, don't do that." It's so depressing. What? I'll be dead next week. Just say something nice at my funeral. That was my self-deprecating humor. But that was my fear, I think, on the inside of trying to express that, it's not easy being me. It's not easy being in pain. It's not easy never fitting in. It's not easy having people stare at you and gawk at you and everyone, your hands are freakishly large, so I went through those emotional periods in my career too as well. And to be able to be fortunate enough to have good people around me to help pull all that together and turn it to a positive. After seeing that HBO special, it saddens me a little bit because Andre was such an amazing human being from everyone that knew him that if there was a way to help him, I wish I would have been around to be able to help him. I think there's one testimony in the HBO series that Bill Simmons did that Timmy White, who's a dear friend of mine, and Timmy White spent a lot of time with Andre. And I remember Timmy and I were together on the road, and we were talking about Andre, and he told me about how Andre passed in France in the hotel, and he was by himself. And Timmy was really emotional and upset about that, because Andre was his friend. He didn't want the Giant to pass away alone. He says, I wish I'd have been there. And I said, Timmy, if I was passing away the last person I'd want to see is your face. And he said, well, it'd be mine because I'd be choking you, you big bastard. So, I made him laugh at the time when we had that interaction ourselves personally, but then they brought that up in the documentary and asked Timmy, and Timmy got upset, but I couldn't console my friend, and I lost it in the theater because Timmy's my friend, and I saw the pain that he had. And then I'm thinking, on one hand, as emotional as it is, on the other hand, I'm very blessed because there's a lot of people that do outside of sports entertainment. Of course, my fans, I'm very thankful for all of them. I'm very blessed to have anyone that appreciates what I do. But I have a lot of personal friends that really care about me, and I'm happy for the fact that, yes, I've made the transformation to get healthier and be healthier for myself, but also so I don't cause my friends that kind of pain that Timmy White has. Even Vince, who's like, granite marble, you could tell Vince was upset too. I mean, and I can tell when Vince tells me stories of Andre and how Andre did things, and Andre's different than me. It's a different time, it's a different era. He was a different man, but there was a lot of similarities between him and I and what we've both been through in our careers and gone through physically that it really resonated with me more so than it ever has in my entire career. Like that HBO special for me hit home in a whole new place because I learned so much about Andre, and even after being in this business for 20 plus years and all the stories and all the guys, I learned more about Andre the Giant in that documentary than I ever knew.
And that documentary debuts on April 15th on HBO, Andre the Giant, from producer Bill Simmons. The show must go on. I think WWE stock now is trading somewhere north of $36 a share, certainly an all-time high territory since it went public in 1999. Do you and your fellow wrestlers take some sense of pride and achievement in the business that you've built and what that reflects to shareholders for the WWE?
Of course. I mean, one of our main responsibilities is you always want to leave this business as a talent better than when you came into it. You always want to build the territory better. In this case, our territory is WWE. We're global. It's our company. We're part of it. So for those of us that work through the Attitude area, that are working now, that are contributing now, and to see this growth and this expansion, there's a lot of pride in that. I mean, I can remember in the locker room, we didn't have trainers. Guys taped each other's ankles, Now we have orthopedics on staff. We have concussion impact testing. We have financial advisors, insurance advisors. Like, there's so many things that WWE does towards the athlete that most of the outside world doesn't know. I mean, right away, these new guys are coming in, they're getting financial investment advice, they're getting insurance advice, they're getting, like health care in the form of blood testing and cholesterol levels. And WWE is taking a really big step investing in a superstar, because it's not like the territory days where you keep a guy a couple of years and send him on out. Like, they're investing in talent now because they see the long-term advantages of keeping talent 15, 20 years as much as possible, that long-term investment, so the crowd becomes more emotionally invested. It's a better investment for them as a company to invest more in their employees because it's a better return rate over a longer time.
You talk about the globality of this sport. Last week we had a visit, and it continues this week out in California, of Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. A lot of reports coming out about the greatest Royal Rumble at King Abdullah Sports City on April 23rd in Saudi. Are you going to be
27th?
27th. Are you going to be?
Yeah, I'll
in
be
that
there.
match?
I go out the 19th to do the media for it. I'll be there. I've been in Jeddah before a couple years ago. I went there. Yeah. So.
What's the experience like? Different kind of fan base.
Different kind of fan base. Different culture. Still, I'll say that's one thing that's great about my industry is it transcends all race, religion, creeds, colors. As sports entertainment, there's something for everyone, and fans are fans. And even with all the turmoil that goes on in the world and crazy people and on both sides, it seems kind of crazy, but like sports entertainment brings everybody together. I mean, they're very gracious hosts, and very excited fans. So that's all you can ask for as a talent, is to go over, perform well, be treated well, and make sure the crowd never forgets that you were there.
I also saw photo you tweeted out of yourself recently, flanked by Special Olympians. You do a lot of work with the troops.
Love the Special Olympics guys.
What do you feel is your sort of duty to give back to those who are helping to fill arenas, but also your biggest fans?
I just enjoy the people. I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, as much as I stand out, as much as a freak as I am, I still enjoy people. I think I overcome a lot of my insecurities about being different by engaging with people more. I think that's one of the insights that's worked for me. Rather than becoming more of a recluse and hiding from people, I've tried to get involved with other projects and other things where I can use this freakiness and this spectacle that I am and use it for more good. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people need to do a lot more good in this world. So if I have the opportunity to do some good, I'm going to try it. And working with the Special Olympics athletes, recognizing our veterans, working with Make-A-Wish, anything like that, it's good. It's good for your soul, and it's good to help other people. If you can help make one person have a good day, then you've done a good thing. And I think that if we all tried that a little bit more, just try to help another person have a good day with a smile, a kind word, a helping hand. That's being human. That's true humanity.
Dwayne Johnson, of course, has gone huge. John Cena was...
Dwayne Johnson? Who's Dwayne Johnson?
Also, Cena was huge in Trainwreck. You've got the Jetsons and WWE Robo WrestleMania coming out.
Yeah.
How much do you enjoy doing things outside of the ring in the entertainment space?
Great. I actually just left LA and I just came home with 3 scripts. So I've got 3 potential films that are pretty big blockbusters that I'm looking at now that I'm being heavily considered for. So I'm very excited about the opportunities moving forward for me to get out there and meet with the studio heads and meet with some of the creative directors and whatnot. So they get me, they understand me now. It's a little bit different to see me on TV or see me in a picture, but once they interact with me, they realize that we might be able to do something with him. So now we're starting at the bottom. We're going to work our way up. I mean, like I said, I'm not a John Cena or a Mark Wahlberg or a Rock. That's not my role, but I can be, that best buddy, that fun guy, or that arch villain. You know what I mean? So who knows? I mean, things pick up. I might be able to do Shakespeare. I'll do Othello in the park or something.
You are still the biggest show in town, though, at WrestleMania. That comes up this weekend in New Orleans. For those who don't usually tune into WrestleMania or will for the first time, it's not just one night. It's a whole week of events. What should a fan look for at WrestleMania?
Well, WrestleMania is going to be a week-long event. We've got Access, which will have superstars signing autographs. We'll have superstars taking pictures. You're going to have events where superstars are at local events. I have a Special Olympics basketball game I'm coaching. I have National Taxi Cab Appreciation Day. I've got some other interactives on Media Row, which I'll interview a lot of podcast people, a lot of media people. So it's really Access is exactly that. It's access to a lot of the superstars, new up-and-comers. There'll be matches with new NXT talent that, I remember 7-8 years ago, some of the NXT talent performers like your Seth Rollins and stuff like that were, or if not longer, I could be maybe even longer, they were performing at NXT. They were performing at the Access, and now they're headlining WrestleMania. So it just shows that you get to see a lot of talent before they're really created and really made. And then, of course, you have merchandise and all the unique items that are for sale and opportunity and experiences that go along with Access. And then the event itself, April 8th, Mercedes Dome, New Orleans, Louisiana. It's going to be one humdinger, that's for sure. One humdinger, that's for sure. There you go. That's almost like a JR word, Jim Ross, humdinger, slobberknocker. Best of luck at WrestleMania. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for having me. That's our conversation for this week. Our guest was Big Show, who's making his return to the ring in time for WrestleMania 34 on Sunday, April 8th. If you like what you heard, please rate us on iTunes, write a review, let other folks know where to find us. And if you've got a comment or question you'd like one of our experts to tackle on a future show, email us at icehouse@theice.com or tweet at us at NYSE. Our show was produced by Pete Ash and Ian Wolfe with production assistance from Ken Abel and Stephen Portner. I'm Josh King, your host, signing off from the Library of the New York Stock Exchange. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time.
Information contained in this podcast was obtained in part from publicly available sources and not independently verified. Neither ICE nor its affiliates make any representations or warranties, express or implied, as to the accuracy or completeness of this information, and do not sponsor, approve, or endorse any of the content herein, all of which is presented solely for informational and educational purposes. Nothing herein constitutes an offer to sell or a solicitation of an offer to buy any security or recommendation of any security or trading practice.